What is it? Whatever.
For the interview? I think it was okay.
Yeah.
It was for like an M&A. Not for like a big day. Like M&A.
Oh, I see. I see.
I'm gonna get their pizza. We're gonna start at 6:30 exact today.
Do I send, I have a presentation for the student revision, do I send that to you?
Yeah, send it to Chris Stillman at ku.edu.
It's all.
Oh my God, I get so mad. I put them on the table on the side. Another one kind of talking about things. It could be two. They not?
As of 11 minutes ago.
Yeah, I know. Wow.
Hey, I expect something.
What is this?
The catch box. Don't get it dirty with your pizza hand, bro. Here, you want Jada? No, I'll turn it on. I'm just getting things set up.
Is it hot?
Right on the light. Why do you 75?
That's what I think. Add or subtract. No, I'm like, I just decided to. I'm like, I could. Can you
Very, very good.
even though it's the best,
Turn it on.
I'm literally Christian.
So like.
Oh, I'll do it.
Be encouraged
Yeah,
Oh, maybe it's not working.
Yes. Yes.
Oh,
Nine. That's not.
Yes.
For you?
All right, everyone, let's get ready to go ahead and get started. Please call the order. I'm looking for a motion to approve the minutes last meeting. Steve Bush from Brendan, a Steve second from Austin. Any objections? I'll test you right now, Monisha. I ain't eating all day. Polls out. Let's go ahead and give 90 seconds to go ahead and vote for that.
Or we can share. To remove.
Okay.
30 seconds, please. 30 seconds, guys. 30 seconds to go get those votes in.
Thank you.
Yeah, no. Yeah, it's just for the.
The poll is now closed with a vote of 27 affirmative, 0 abstentions, and 0 in the negative. The minutes from last cycle are approved. The next item on agenda are officer reports. I had an officer report to give you guys and forgot it, so nothing for me. Turner.
All right. Hey, everybody. This is like our record attendance. It's kind of cool. That's the shortest officer report I've ever seen. So good job, Zach Rib. Real quick, I don't have much. I just want to tell you guys about the big thing we're working on in the exec. It's our move out donation program. I've talked about it the last few times, I think. But just so you guys know, we're planning to start a move out donation program at KU this year. So for all of you guys that live or lived in residence halls, I think you have seen it, but there is a lot of stuff that ends up in the trash at the end of the year. So you can think of your microwaves, mini fridges, rugs, anything you bought at Target that you don't want to take home. It usually ends up in the trash. And these items are good and people would use them next year if there was a means to transfer them. So that's what we want to do. We're trying to start a series of events that would collect all these items that people are planning to throw away, store them over the summer and clean them, and then sell them to the community at a low cost. So that's something exec is working on. The collection event we're trying to call Jayhawk Junk. That's our plan for it. Kind of cheesy name. Excuse me. And then the event we're going to have either in late July or early August, we're thinking about calling Free State Finds. So keep on the lookout. I'm really excited about it. I wanted you guys to know about it. So that's all I have. Thank you all for being here. Yeah, appreciate it.
Danae is not here today. Camden, how much time do you need?
You know, I would like to propose a catchphrase for the Jayhawk Junk program, if you will. Sometimes all you're looking for is a little bit of Jayhawk Junk. Welcome, everybody. My name is Camden Baxter. I'm the chair of the Finance Council. Zach, what did we say I was going to talk about? This line item. Yeah. I got lost in the double entendre, folks, and I forgot what I was actually up here for. We held line item deliberations 2 weeks ago. It would have been the Wednesday before spring break, correct? Parsed through over $100,000 in funding requests, came to what we thought was a fairly equitable allocation, only to find out after the fact that one of our largest groups, Model UN, did not submit an application. So we're in the process of working through that. If there are any delays in the line item allocation, you know why. As far as what else I've been working on, we hosted the Student Health Advisory Board Patient Assistance Fund fundraiser, which is very exciting, thanks to a generous donation from Turner, the student body president, who contributed a $1,000 match account. We were able to raise over $3,000 for the Patient Assistance Fund, which is somewhere in the ballpark of 600 students helped each semester with their medical bills. So it's a huge act of goodwill that Student Senate has been able to undertake that has consumed the majority of my time the past few weeks. Are there any questions for me? Cool, thank you.
All right, the next item we have on our agenda is the consent agenda. We're gonna go ahead and just do a voice vote for this. We have two bills, a bill to fund the Sociology Club and a bill to fund the New Music Guild. I'm not too sure how much each of those funding amounts are, but I'm looking for a motion to go ahead and approve the consent agenda. See a motion from Jaden. Any seconds? See a second in the back. Any objections? Awesome. The consent agenda is approved. The next item we have on agenda is our regular agenda. We have the Code of Student Rights and Responsibilities. Can I give you guys 5 minutes or
20. It's a long one, man. 20 minutes?
Yes, thank you.
Good evening. If we haven't met, my name is Austin Christ, and I am the chair of the Student Rights and Affairs Council. One of my responsibilities as the Rights Chair is to oversee the mandatory biennial revision to the university's official Code of Rights and Responsibilities, which is known as colloquially as the Student Code. What you see in front of you right now is a proposed amendment to the Student Code, meaning that it would enumerate rights that would become an official part of university policy. Upon passing Students' Assembly tonight with a 2/3 majority, this bill would be sent to Dr. Tamara Durham, who is the Vice Provost of Student Affairs for KU. Dr. Durham would then take this to General Counsel, which is the university's official legal team. If Dr. Durham and General Counsel decide that it looks good and can't find any legal problems with it, it would then be sent to the Chancellor to be signed into effect. What you see in front of you tonight is an opportunity to have a direct impact on student lives on and off campus, as well as an opportunity to send a message to prospective KU students. That message being that KU is an institution that will fight to protect their rights to the fullest extent possible, and that we are a campus that embraces all students regardless of gender identity. With all that being said, I will now turn the presentation over to our Fund Development Director, Chris Reithel, as well as our two guest presenters, Rain and Jenna. Please give them your undivided attention. Thank you.
Go ahead. You got the big podium.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me? Okay, thank you. So it's for someone much taller than I am. Anywho, this is our presentation on the Student Code Amendment for protections for transgender students here at KU. Yes, so these are some statements I've collected that are anonymous from friends, coworkers, and loved ones who are trans in my life, and how this is an issue that can closely affect us, which is just trans hate. For example, a little piece of my soul dies every time I'm misgendered. I finally updated my name on KU's preferred name, but I'm still terrified my professors won't pay attention to it. I know when a place is not for me, so I hold it in as much as I can, referring specifically to not having access to gender neutral restrooms, and how generally as someone who has worked a lot with the community, both on and off campus, the LGBT community, many, specifically for KU, many students have felt extreme emotional distress, and some have even considered fleeing the state of Kansas for more supportive places. So stopping their studies at KU to go somewhere where they feel safer. And because of many reasons, both here on campus and off campus, a lot of these students can feel persistent and unavoidable dread, fear, anger, and terror, just not knowing if they will be protected or not at KU. One personal testimony I do have is that last year during the summer semester, and during my sophomore year, the chairs of the art department, I'm a visual art major, wanted to update the signage on the 4th and 5th floor bathrooms in Chalmers, which is the art building, to have gender neutral signs to support transgender, gender nonconforming students. In the art program. And mere days later, these signs were defaced with hateful language and symbols with Sharpie, and they had to be taken down. And that resulted in students like including myself, to be just scared to use the restrooms in my own building in my major I chose. And as an additional anecdote, I worked in the Chalmers wood shop where the bosses, like basically the people in charge, were commissioned by the chairs to make these signs. So a lot of effort was put into it, but it had to be halted because of just the hatred.
Oh, 1 second.
Oh, yes.
Quick note here. These signs were updated during the summer. People took time out of their lives during the summer when most classes aren't in session to go to the art building and deface these bathroom signs just because they were changed to gender neutral restrooms.
Yep. It's very frustrating. Could be doing a lot more fun stuff during the summer than that. But and generally, going outside of KU, trans hate does have a very significant impact on LGBT people. For example, according to the Trevors Project 2023 mental health survey, 50% of transgender people seriously considered attempting suicide in the past year. As well as 72% of transgender and non-binary people having symptoms of depression or anxiety. And finally, 27% of transgender and non-binary people reported that they've been physically threatened or harmed in the past year due to their gender identity. So these effects compound on people. Some of the benefits of this amendment that is being proposed, and maybe in some of yours' hands right now, is that there will be better mental health outcomes for transgender students. This allows them to better focus on their studying, being able to interact on campus, go to activities, because they're not being worried if they'll be threatened for their identity or not. And also having a gender neutral at a trans student's school decreases their suicidality by 15%, and having pronouns respected by people around them decreases their suicidality by 11%. So there is real benefits to having amendments that respect these identities. And finally, as the student ambassador for the Center for Sexuality and Gender Diversity, which is our campus's LGBT center, and president of an LGBTQ serving club, I get lots of questions from prospective students who want to attend KU about what support system there is in place for transgender students at KU, and that it can be the make it or break it for students in deciding to attend this university or not. So it's a very it's might be at the top of their list, along with, you know, the usual, like, how's the programs? And in essence, having amendments like the one proposed shows allyship to LGBT students, both current and prospective. And that is the end of my part.
So we'll now start looking at the text of the amendment. which you should all have printouts, or as many as I had printed out before this. Cool. And let me just make a quick note here before we get into the text of it. Being trans at KU and in the entire country is not something that's very easy. Socially transitioning, the process of choosing a new name, asking your friends to go by it, is a very long process. It involves giving up parts of your identity that you've held since your birth and that many people near you, including your parents, might have an ongoing emotional attachment for, and trying to forge an entirely new identity that makes you happy and that makes you want to put yourself out there in the world. To say nothing of the process of medically transitioning, which entails having access to a doctor or a therapist, being able to access a pharmacy that is willing to prescribe you medication, such as hormone replacement therapy, and then committing to that, often for, at a minimum, for a period of years before you start seeing real effects in how other people see you. And this is the life of trans students at the university, and that life is currently under threat in many states, and thankfully not so much in Kansas yet, at least nothing in effect. And we're before you today to try and protect the lives of trans students at the university, to ensure that these people are able to live happy lives and access the university's educational programs free of the fear of being harassed or sent back years of progress that they've made to change their gender identity. So we'll start here. This amendment is divided into 4 parts. The first part, I believe, is the only thing that would create a change on campus versus protecting the status quo as we have it now. So the first part here, university faculty or staff must, after taking notice from university records or being given notice by a student or another employee, use students' chosen names and pronouns while students are accessing educational programs or in other situations where it could be expected to impact the learning environment of the university. This is making sure that trans students are able to feel respected and included in the classrooms of the university. KU has currently a commitment to inclusive classrooms, but the only enforcement mechanism, or the only way for trans students to raise complaints currently, is when instances of university faculty or staff using pronouns or names that they haven't chosen escalates to the point of being actual criminal harassment. And at that point, harm has already been done to students. And we're trying to get in the middle of that and create an opportunity for trans students to raise these concerns before it escalates to that level of harm. This part of the amendment would allow the Office of Civil Rights in Title IX to hold a discussion between the trans student and the faculty or staff member in question, and help them come to an understanding of how these actions can negatively affect student health, such as Rain was talking about in their presentation, of how students who do not feel that their gender identity is being respected have a marked increase in their suicidality, and having their name and pronouns respected by university staff makes them feel much safer when accessing KU programs. It's not intended to be a punishment for the faculty or staff members. It's meant to provide a structured opportunity for the students and the staff member to reach an understanding for how to move forward. Moving on to the second part here. The university must, as far as it is financially feasible, provide restroom facilities of sufficient type and amount such that all students are able to use the facilities of their choice. This is already the case in many buildings on campus. Many buildings, including the Kansas Union, have gender-neutral restrooms or gender-inclusive restrooms available in places where students are able to access them. However, the university is large and many of the buildings are out of date And when going through these buildings for updates, KU does not have enough eyes to ensure that every one of them has a gender inclusive restroom that is actually accessible for students. For example, we have buildings like Wesco, which everyone loves Wesco, and people are not always able to access every floor of Wesco because the elevator service there is, to put it in light terms, kind of wonky. So if a gender inclusive restroom were only available on one floor of that, you would run into instances where students aren't able to get to the other floors as easily, again, because the elevators suck, to access the restrooms they need. And holding it isn't really an option. And if you're in the middle of transitioning to a new gender identity, you're in kind of a weird space where you might not really feel safe accessing either restroom, either the one that corresponds to your gender assigned at birth or the one that has the gender that you are trying to fulfill. 3 and 4 here. Once a student notifies the university registrar of having chosen a different name or gender of both, the university must update student records in accordance with that notification. This is how it is currently. This provision and the next one about requiring additional documentation before recognizing a student's name or gender identity, this is all how it is currently. Currently, the process, while not great, you have to talk with a lot of different departments if you're wanting to change your name or preferred pronouns or gender marker across the university. Currently, you do not have to submit additional documentation for this. However, what we see in a lot of other states is when they are starting to roll back protections for trans students, they won't start with immediately making it impossible to change your name or gender identity. They will start with making it more difficult to access. They will start requiring letters from your therapist that you have attended therapy sessions for, God knows, 6 months, 1 year, and that you've consistently displayed signs of gender dysphoria through all of them. And that's not something that most students can access. It presents a considerable financial burden. First of all, therapy ain't cheap. And then also a substantial time burden before students would be able to access this. So these two parts of the proposal are meant to enshrine the way things currently are and to ensure that trans students at the university don't have to worry about this process becoming more difficult for them moving forward. And I believe that's about it. What questions are there? Thank you. Thank you.
Any questions?
Yes.
I was just wondering how you came up with the 11% decrease in suicidality. Was that like a survey or?
That was from the Trevor Project survey, wasn't it?
Yes, the Trevor Project's annual survey on mental health it's set around the whole nation. That's where I got the statistics from. Sorry for not citing that in those quotes.
The Trevor Project, if you aren't familiar, is one of the leading national organizations for advocacy for LGBTQ people.
Any other questions?
Yes.
Or should we do one behind you? Yeah. Thanks.
Hello, first off, I'd like to thank you guys for coming up here and presenting today. I wholeheartedly support what you're doing, and I think that it has the potential to positively impact students for generations to come. One question I do have, though, is about the implementation of additional gender-neutral bathrooms. So I don't know if any of y'all have been to Anschutz second floor. There's these huge bathrooms that are used to accommodating a large number of students at a time, but when they were converted to gender neutral bathrooms, they became like single occupancy or whatever, so only like one person could be in there at a time. And I know that, at least for me personally, I've had a lot of instances where it's very difficult to get to the bathroom because there's a long line of people. Would the implementation of more gender neutral bathrooms look similar to what is going on at Anschutz, or do you think that that would involve like construction, or how do you see that playing out?
Right. So the Anschutz implementation is probably not ideal. Mostly what we were considering for this, have you near the sorority and fraternity life offices, there is a room that they converted probably from like a broom closet or something to just a single occupancy restroom that's like the size of a person. It's mostly like that, mostly like family restrooms, ones where a person goes in, person goes out. There have also been some options that are more like, you see these in some gas stations where it's a multi-occupancy restroom, but it's like each stall is its own little room. So mostly like that. And this would, we wanted to respect the realities of the university's business while writing that, which is where the, as far as its financially feasible part comes in. But we are hoping that with the current master plan and successive master plans for campus renovations, that including this in university policy would put much more focus on ensuring that when buildings are renovated, that those renovations include gender inclusive restrooms and accessible restrooms as well. Any further
Any other
questions?
We have about 2 minutes left.
Motion for time extension, 10 minutes.
Second.
Any objections? Okay, any questions? Kevin?
Thank you all so much for your presentation. I really appreciate you coming in here. I want to address a concern that I don't have, but I know that a lot of others in the room might. How do you anticipate this, or let's start here. Have you communicated with members of upper administration about how the legislature, for example, might perceive an amendment such as this? I know that's a concern that's been raised, and I hate to defer, or I hate to give airtime to a legislature that is hostile to trans rights, because I believe that's shameful. But I do think that's an important concern, and it's one that a lot of people in this room have. How would you address that?
True. While balancing this, we did have to move around the fact that the university is part of the Kansas government, and it doesn't have a whole lot of independence from what the Kansas legislature can do, which is why when we were discussing this last semester with student conduct and community standards, legal services for students, and the Center for Sexuality and Gender Diversity, we wanted to make sure that this wasn't going to cause issues with the current state of politics in Kansas. And it's why pretty much all of these provisions, 2, 3, and 4 all have provisions that say that they only apply as far as the law allows them to. And for, oops, sorry, I think I may have broken something. For the first one here, originally we were concerned, but when talking over this with student conduct and community standards, they provided us with language that would work better with the university's current HR functionalities and with the current federal laws, specifically the Title IX for discrimination based on sex or gender. And of course, if we pass this, of course, then it would be reviewed by Student Affairs and General Counsel. And General Counsel is, if you've ever worked with them, they are very, very nervous about anything that could attract legal attention to the university.
Are there any other questions? All right, is there an amendment or a speech in negation? I see a motion from Eric. Is that a motion to, what's the motion?
Proposed amendment speech.
Awesome, yeah. What's your amendment?
Here's microphone.
We want to propose a change to the first two sections of this Article 1.
Propose them.
Do you have it written up?
Yes. Do I need to email that?
Go on Teams and send it to Chris. What's yours?
Yeah.
Chris Stillman at ku.edu.
Yeah. What I'm gonna do is,
Yeah.
Okay.
I was gonna give you some time to come up. There's a 10-minute extension on the floor for debate.
Yeah.
Feel free to take 2 minutes after you go ahead and send that out, and feel free to come up, stand up where you're at, maybe talk about your amendment.
Yeah. So
Sounds good. Go ahead and get that sent out.
I just need to email it. So I did it in Google Docs. Or do I need to put it in?
You know what? What's your,
Words.
is your amendment, is it like a,
It's very small.
it's very small then. I think what's gonna save time is if you go ahead and just talk about it.
Yeah, so the first part we just wanted to change instead of making it staff must apply to that, we want to just change it to encourage, dealing more with a free speech thing. And the section 2, as far as the bathroom one, it can kind of be a very it's very vague and broad, and it could be misinterpreted potentially to asking the university to make all bathrooms accessible to anyone. But like Chris mentioned, this is to put more gender neutral bathrooms in place. And so, I mean, as far as changing the wording. We just want to change the wording to the university must, as far as it's financially feasible, provide more single person restrooms to meet needs of all students.
So just a quick clarification, for the first part, you want to change the wording from must
To
to encourage.
encouraged.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
then the second one, you want to frame it as provide restroom facilities of sufficient types. What's like the exact wording that you're changing?
Single person restrooms to
Okay.
meet the needs of all students.
Perfect. So those are exact wordings that we're changing. Just to recap, we're
Yeah.
changing the words from must to encourage in the first clause.
Yeah.
And they're changing it, we're adding single use restrooms to second.
Yeah.
We'll take note of that. Are there questions about that? Feel free to go ahead and questions. Garrett, do me a favor, stand up. Perfect.
Me too?
Now you're good.
Okay, great. So this is a question potentially for Chris and what was your name again?
Garrick.
Garrig. So regarding Ethan's question, I thought the whole point is that we're not having like single use restrooms as the new constructions for the master plan, like what's in Anschutz at the moment. So is what you're talking about with the single use restrooms, like the thing that's happening in Anschutz right now, or
No.
yeah, some clarification.
Okay, so as far as what I mean by single person restrooms, so I don't know if any of y'all have been on the bottom floor of Snow.
Yeah.
I'm in architecture, so I have a studio down there. There's 2 single person restrooms and they're literally just a family restroom without the family stuff. So it's just a single person restroom with the something. I feel like if we use single person restroom instead of gender neutral, it's likelier to not be defaced, as that was mentioned as an issue. And obviously, some people are intolerant. So I feel like if it was just single person, it probably wouldn't get.
I have a point of information. So again, Bill does not say gender neutral. It just says that students are able to use facilities of their choice.
Can I make a response, or are we still explaining the amendment?
I'll let Garrett get, Garrett, does that change anything about it?
So where are we at?
He just said the bill doesn't say anything about single use. Or so it doesn't say about, it doesn't say about anything about gender neutral. And it's about just in regards to students using the bathrooms of their own choosing.
That's how it's worded. It can be misinterpreted that way.
Also.
Could I interject?
Stop.
We just want to like.
I'm tired. Okay, Chris, I need to talk.
Okay, the vagueness is in part by choice. The entire student code is vague. It's meant to provide statements that university administration can then expound on later with specific plans for how to implement not just more gender inclusive restrooms, but more accessible restrooms at the university. I know the focus of this amendment is specifically focused on transgender students, but the way I wrote this second section here, the university must provide restroom facilities of sufficient type and amount such that all students are able to use the facilities of their choice, also encompasses students with disabilities. And I think it would be doing a disservice to the purpose of the amendment if we clarify those specifically for single occupancy restrooms. And also on the subject of clarifying it specifically so that we wouldn't run into issues of people defacing the restrooms, I don't think that that's something that we should really consider. The university, the student senate, our job is to advocate for students, especially when those students face threats at the university. I think specifically making decisions or avoiding making decisions because they could invite backlash is a bad way to approach our job to advocate for students at KU.
The subsection 2 that you're talking about was, as Chris kind of touched on, it was intentionally left vague to allow the university more flexibility for implementing it without running into problems.
Of course, we aren't directly involved with university administration, so we want to provide leeway for how they should implement it, like in the campus master plans or in smaller renovations.
Sarah, do you have your hands up? You want to say something?
Yeah, can I just have like a point?
Go ahead.
I think what Garrick's trying to say is like it's vague when it says anyone, where is it? Anyone can use the facilities of their choice. I think Garrick's targeting that as like, this is saying it's totally fine for anyone to walk in any bathroom they want, instead of the intent is saying that everyone should have a bathroom that they're able to use. So I think what Garrick is trying to say, or the amendment is saying, that there should be like a single use restroom, so it fits everybody and not just saying anyone can go anywhere. I think that's what it's trying to say.
Well, that
To
is not
clarify.
what the bill says. The bill says to provide enough restroom facilities such that anyone can use the restrooms of their choice. If there is currently a trans woman on campus who wants to use the restroom, then I assume that she would go to the women's restroom, and ditto for a trans man in a men's restroom. Those already exist, of course. Gender inclusive restrooms, those are specifically for students who might not like being called a man or a woman, good for them. Or students who are in the awkward stage in the transition where they don't feel safe using either restroom. And again, that's really where we run into the issue of students not feeling safe to use public facilities. It's when they're in that awkward period and when they have to, as one of the quotes that Rain collected says, just got to hold it until you get home, which is not a good way to approach bodily functions.
All right, I'm a bit confused. Greg, I'm gonna ask you a quick question. I thought the purpose of the single use was to, at least in the function that we talked about so far, clarify that we can't just like tear down a whole like bathroom row and chutes and make it one single bathroom.
What if there was a broom closet?
Well, I don't know what the engineering goes into in terms of like making a room closet a bathroom. I don't know if that's really as feasible. But I was just, that's why I thought the amendment was about.
Well, clearly we were able to do it in the Kansas Union.
I'm not too familiar with like the water and the sewage system that goes into making a bathroom. Garrett, is that in terms of why that position was made? If that's the case, I don't think that we need to, I'm not gonna go ahead and make a speech right now. I'm just asking a question.
How would you like rephrase that again?
I think I kind of agree with Austin. Wait. Are you guys gonna rephrase what I just said or rephrase?
Rephrase what you just said.
So first, I brought up a point about Ethan brought up a point about how we just tore down bathrooms and anschutz and made it one single bathroom. I thought the point in the amendment in the second point where you made it single use or you add a single use, it would allow it would prevent us from doing that.
I mean, I mentioned single use because, in Chris's presentation, they really emphasized on how we want specifically more single use restrooms. So I was figuring that is what that second article or that second section of this article was meaning, was we want more of that. And I feel like this would be a way to do that in a better legal.
That's a great, I like that. That's a good point.
It's also, of course, important to have, sorry, may I?
Yeah.
It's also important, of course, to have better placement of restrooms so the students are able to access them in addition to just having the single use or gender inclusive restrooms. We have a second.
Yes, I have a quick.
I'm gonna stop you. Yeah, I'm gonna stop you. We're kind of like one time's out, and secondly, we're just kind of like triangulating between the three of us.
Well, we have to discuss the text of the amendment.
So what we could do is, I
Can I request more?
don't want to go into speeches. I just feel like talking it out is kind of
Yeah.
what's the move. Can we go into the committee of the whole just to figure it out real quick and not stay too long? Okay, I see a motion to go in committee of the whole from Ethan. I guess second not there. Any objections?
I object. The committee of the whole, yeah.
Okay, there's an objection to committee of the whole. All in favor of going to committee of the whole, raise their hands. Okay, we're not going to committee of the whole. Time's out, which means that we either need a motion, extend time. What's up?
Can we get an extension for 10 minutes?
10-minute extension. Any second and Kevin, any objections? Okay. We're talking about this amendment. Let's go ahead and line up speeches to the amendment. Amendment was made. Is there a speech in negation for the amendment?
Whoa. They need a second for the amendment and then you call for objections and then we vote on it.
There was,
So this is still technically
We're still-
introduction of an amendment.
Yes.
You've not had either a second or a vote on the actual document.
that's a good point. Sorry
So
about
there's
that.
a second, and then we go into positive and negative speeches.
Sorry about that. Let's go. Is there a second? There's a motion to make an amendment. Is there a second for the motion? See a second from Sarah. Is there an objection?
Objection.
There's an objection from Chris.
Sorry.
All in favor of discussing the amendment, raise your hands. All against?
Of discussing or adopting?
Adopt an amendment, sorry.
Okay, so.
Adopt an amendment. I'm sorry.
Okay, so we're
All-
voting on adoption of the amendment now.
Teams poll. Let's go ahead. I'm
Okay.
Sorry. That's on me, guys. That's on me. Sorry.
May,
about that.
may I clarify for
Yeah.
parliamentary?
Yes.
Okay, everyone, please. Everyone? Okay. So currently, I believe the amendment on the floor is to, in the first section here, I'll just point the screens. Change it from university and faculty staff must to students and faculty staff are encouraged. And then here, do something to change it to single occupancy restrooms. I didn't get the specific text of it. So voting in favor would be changing that language in the bill. Voting against it would be keeping the bill as it is currently.
Okay, yeah, I think that sounds fair. There's a motion to make an amendment. Seconded, it's been seconded. So it's been objected by Chris. So now we have to make a Teams poll whether or not we're gonna even approve this amendment.
We can have
Yeah.
speeches either before and front. We've essentially entered a period of discussion if no one forces a vote on the amendment
Yes,
with both pro and against speeches. That's where we are procedurally.
that's why I made it.
We had a positive speech.
We had a positive speech. Is there a negative speech? That's where
Yes,
we're
there's
at.
a negative speech.
Okay, so we're talking about negative speeches right now.
May I give the negative speech?
Yes.
Okay.
We had a 10-minute extension. We have 7 minutes. Can you make it 2 minutes?
Zachary, can you,
Can you make it, guys? Chris is gonna give a 2-minute speech.
2 minute?
Can you give it?
5, please?
Okay, 5 minutes.
Thank
Go
you.
ahead, Chris.
Okay. I appreciate the attempt to make the proposal or work collaboratively on the proposal. However, I do not think that this amendment is a good idea for us to adopt. We have discussed this proposal extensively with university administration in student conduct and community standards, which enforces the current student code, with the Center for Sexuality and Gender Diversity, which is the primary body on campus to advocate for LGBTQ students, and with Legal Services for Students, which provides, I'm not allowed to say legal advice, they provide legal discussion for student issues. So we have talked with all 3 of these groups and run it by the Student Senate advisors in student affairs multiple times, and neither of these 2 things have been an issue. In fact, for the second part here, we were encouraged to use vague language for the bathrooms part of this, or for the public facilities part of this, so that university administration could decide how to build on this later on. Changing it to just be single occupancy restrooms restrains how the university can implement this amendment on campus. And changing university and faculty staff must to encourage to reduces the ability of students to access the Office of Civil Rights in Title IX when they have an issue of a university faculty or staff member using gender or using a name or pronouns that the student has not chosen. So I thank the senator for the attempted collaboration, but I do not think this amendment is a good idea for the spirit or effect of this bill.
Point of information real quick. This is, I believe, the 7th draft of this bill. We have worked very extensively.
Yes.
With university admin on fine tuning the language so that we wouldn't run into problems like that.
7th Amendment, it took months.
Are there any questions for Chris?
I'm going to motion to vote on the bill as is.
We can't do that. We have to deal with the amendment first.
Has to deal with the amendment first. You can motion to vote on the amendment.
Okay, there's no questions for Chris. Is you have a positive speech, Sarah?
I move to vote on the amendment.
We have a good few minutes left.
Okay,
Then go
go
ahead. Sarah, you can go ahead and give a positive speech. I'm gonna let you stay where you're at, just because I know. Yeah,
Okay, can I?
you wanna stand up or you can do whatever you want? Yeah, okay, my bad.
If that's okay, I'll sit.
Do you-
Okay, I'll keep it short. This bill originally filled Rights Committee back in December, and then it was brought back or November. And a lot of the concerns were just legal issues with the first and the second point. And so with the first point, the biggest concern was just First Amendment, because saying that somebody must, after taking notice, use someone's pronouns is mandating speech. And this has been proved through prior court cases where this exact legislation went in. And then a professor said, it's against my religion, I don't want to use your pronouns. And then the university forced him to, and he sued and won $400,000. And so since then, every case precedent has said you can't mandate speech, and not using pronouns is not grounds for harassment, and it's also not grounds for discrimination under Title IX. So, and on most of my sources, I mean, besides if you Google it, every single source said it's illegal, but also specifically FIRE, the Foundation of Individual Rights and Expressions, is the biggest nonpartisan free speech organization. Also, has a really good article about this, and it's a full page just saying you can't, in college, university, public, you can't require university employees to do speech. So for those reasons, it's been kind of a concern throughout committee. So I just kind of wanted to bring that up because I just think fails to be consistent. But if we change it to encourage, it still keeps the intent of this bill, which I think is great. I want everyone to feel included in all that, but it's not inconsistent with the First Amendment. So for that reason, I am in support of the amendment.
May I make a response?
Are there any questions for Sarah? Yeah.
Oh, yes, of course.
There's a question in the back. Go ahead.
Okay, so what is this case you were talking about? Where this exact legislation?
Meriwether v. Hardtop from Shawnee State in Ohio.
Okay, hey, I have a question. Is that? Yeah, okay. Awesome. So, look, we can go back and forth about case law for as long as we want. None of us are lawyers. I don't think that that's going to be productive. A very large number of other universities have these policies. Several of the Ivy Leagues, the UC system, the University of Ohio actually does as well. None of these schools have gotten sued. I'm curious about why none of those instances would cause any problems, but this one specifically would.
I don't know the wording of those specific universities, so you'd have to read it to me.
Sure. Okay, sure. They have the same policies, right? They have misgendering, using the wrong name, pronoun is covered by HR, right?
Well,
In the same.
harassment and discrimination in repeated use is different than just requiring speech. So I don't know the specific word-for-word policy that you're talking about, so I can't speak on it.
So harassment and discrimination are already covered by Title IX. The purpose of this bill, obviously, once conduct escalates to the point where there's consideration of a claim of harassment or.
It's a point of clarification, right? Yes. Okay, I'm gonna start cracking down on like questions versus clarifications versus speeches.
Okay, short, may I make it short?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, the point of this is to specifically deal with lower level cases before they escalate to the harm that would be necessary for a claim of harassment or discrimination.
Yeah, you can.
And that's just why I think it's important to encourage it, so it doesn't get escalated. I don't want anyone to feel like they don't belong or anything, but requiring use of language isn't allowed under the First Amendment, and every source says so. That's my concern.
Perfect. I have a point of information.
Please make it a point of information. I'm begging you. Okay, go ahead.
The American Society.
Okay, yeah, sure. So the American Association of University Professors has actually released guidance on this question, and their policy unequivocally is that misgendering students is not covered by academic freedom. Not only is it not covered by academic freedom, it actively contradicts principles of academic freedom because it negatively impacts the abilities of students to engage in the classroom, right, if they don't feel respected by the professor. So the American Association of University Professors recognizes that there's a difference. The distinction that they draw is between respecting a student's identity and agreeing with their ideas.
Okay, Sarah, you can respond to that, but we're kind of getting into it's back and forth. And is there a speech in Sarah made a speech. Is there a speech in the affirmative? We are out of time, actually.
Can we go ahead and vote on the amendment?
So we're out of time. There's a motion by Chris to go ahead and vote on the amendment. Second by Camden. Any objections? Awesome. Can we go ahead and get a poll? Okay. Poll's gonna be out. I'm gonna go ahead and make it 90 seconds. Please look at those votes in 90 seconds. Once that poll's out.
Hey, Evan. Evan Wyndon. Sorry, my Teams isn't working. Put me down as a no.
Okay. Poll is. I'll pull you guys out here. I needed you, man. It's not that far. All right. Poll is out. 90 seconds to go ahead and vote. Go ahead and get started.
Wait, what was the result of it?
All right, everyone. 30 more seconds, please. 30 more seconds. Go get those votes in 30 more seconds. One. Austin, I need you. All right, everyone. With a motion of 3 in the affirmative, 34 in the negative, and 2 abstention, the amendment fails. We're gonna go back to the bill. I need a time extension to go ahead and talk on the bill, but there was where we're at was there was a speech in affirmative given for the bill. There was no negative speech, and now we're back. There was an amendment made, and now we're back to the bill as it is. Is there any motion on like what to do now with we have now? There's a motion to vote on the bill as is, second by Emma. Any objections? All right, we're gonna go ahead and get a poll out to vote on the bill as is. Same thing. We're gonna go ahead. I'm gonna go ahead and give you guys 60 seconds because I feel like that's probably enough time. 60 seconds to go ahead and vote on the bill once the poll is posted. Sorry, my poll guy's coming back in. You guys are good to go. Yeah. All right. The poll is now posted. I'm gonna go ahead and give you guys a minute to go ahead and vote on that. Poll's posted. Go ahead and vote. What's your campus? All right, everyone, we have, I'm gonna give you guys 15 seconds, go get your votes in. Camden, is your teams working? Okay, 15 seconds, go get your votes in. The poll is now closed with a vote of 32 in the affirmative, 3 in the negative, and 2 abstention. Bill passes. So we got Dr. Dude, make it brief.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, next up, we got a bill to fund her campus. Is 5 minutes fine?
Yeah.
Perfect. 5 minutes whenever you start need it.
How do I click through on this? Is it this thing?
Hi, everyone. My name is Hope Kasner. I am the current events director for her campus, KU. And today we are asking for funding for our annual formal. So a little bit about her campus. We are one of the largest student-led organizations on campus, the largest geared towards women, and one of the most followed non-Greek affiliated organizations on Instagram and other social media. We aim to create an inclusive environment that allows women to build connections and create content regardless of their background. And also importantly noted, without any financial burden. We don't ask our members to pay dues. We try to keep it very accessible. We meet once a week and we have over 100 members. Last year, we had our very first formal at here in the Union, and over 200 people attended. Everyone was welcome, regardless if they were a member of her campus or not, and it was totally free for everyone as well. We know that many students here at KU don't get the opportunity to go to a formal if they don't pay dues to a certain organization. So we have started this as an alternative for those who aren't part of those other organizations. But because we do not charge people to attend, we don't charge for dues, we are in need of funding to ensure the event takes place. Our event this year, our theme is bows and bow ties. We plan to host it at the W Banquet Hall on Friday, April 12th from 8 to 10 p.m. We do recognize that having it off campus comes with a rental fee, but we are going through their catering company, not KU Dining, so we would actually be asking for almost $1,000 less than last year. We have been approved by DEI board to receive $500 towards our food bill. We are still in need of $658 more. We are aware of the rule in regards to the $500 limit from Student Senate. So we're willing to cover the rest. I won't read this all out word for word, but we need additional funds to pay our DJ for the venue itself, table rentals, decorations, all of that. For a grand total of about $2,313. For reference, last year we asked for almost $4,000. Sorry, $3,000, almost $4,000. Another way we are planning to save money is to reuse some of our decorations from last year as well, from the campus closet. This is a breakdown of our venue. We want to be really transparent with costs. So we have venue pricing, table rentals, table linen rentals, and also our DJ service. A food overview, which is, I believe, the most expensive, a little bit less than the venue, but this is our food breakdown. We're sticking to like appetizers and drink options for everyone as well. And then our decor overview, again, I'm not going to read through all of that, but that's actually our cheapest section. And again, we will be reusing some of the decorations listed here that we purchased last year for our formal. That's all I have. Does anyone have questions?
Any questions? Kevin?
I have a question.
Yeah.
So you're asking for the $500, right?
Yeah.
And you need $658.
Correct.
Where are you going to get that extra $158 if not home?
We do have a little bit of money saved up. We have hosted percentage nights with businesses in the community like Rusty Taco, Chipotle, things like that. We also have held fundraisers on campus before, like through tabling and such as that. So we don't have enough money to pay for a whole formal, obviously, but we do have some funds saved for so.
There's a motion to vote. Is there a second? Second from Garrick. Any objections? Awesome. You know, we're just gonna do a voice vote. This needs 50% to pass. All in favor of this bill? Aye. Any objections? Awesome. Thank you.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, next up we got. Now let y'all take it away. Yeah, it's you. Go up. You guys got a presentation? Chris, you got it. I don't have the drink. No, not mine. The drink's not mine. Sorry.
They said it to me.
It's Ramadan, and so I'm fasting, and so this is how I'm breaking my fast. I'm never eating in front of you guys, but I need something.
What? Okay.
This guy, right there.
It's
not, it's to the speaker's Senate.
Oh.
They were just looking at it, whoever's on the email, just looking at it.
You're probably gonna have to resend it to me.
Okay, wait, you work okay?
Sorry.
Who runs that?
Who runs what?
Wait, so you just saw it.
No, they sent it to you. You sent it to me?
He's about to.
What'd you send it on?
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah, send it to Chris Stillman.
I need to get new ones for 7.
All right, everyone. Go ahead and give the speaker attention. We're gonna do 5 minutes for them. Thank you, Austin.
Where is it? Which key is it?
Okay. What happened?
Girl, no, you can talk loud.
Are we good?
You didn't put, you didn't put the.
All right.
Okay, okay.
All right, everyone. Perfect. All right. 5 minutes, whatever you need.
Yep. Hi, guys. I'm Janae, and I am the president of Sigma Gamma Rho, the 8 Iota chapter here at the University of Kansas.
And I'm Viviana Turner. I am the secretary, also known as the anti-grammatius for our chapter.
Yep, and we are the 2 delegates that are requesting funding for our Boule, which is a biannual event.
We'll be going over a little bit about us, a little background, so you guys can understand where we're coming from, and also the goals of our conference of what we're requesting funding for, along with accomplishments that we've had as a chapter, and also the breakdown of our finance and a little summary of everything. So we are part of Sigma Gamma Rho. Oh, I didn't know there was a mic. Hold up. So we are part of Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated. We are the 8 Iota chapter. We actually just got reactivated in the spring of 23. Most of you who don't know what reactivation means that we were inactive for 21 years, meaning no SGROs on campus at all. And we're part of the National Panhellenic Council, which there's 9 within the council, and we are one of the 9. So it was really big accomplishment in the spring of 23. We started with nothing. A little background of our org is that we were founded November 12th, 1922 at Butler University, Indianapolis, Indiana. We're actually the only sorority in the Divine 9 who are founded at a PWI, and is the only sorority whose founders are all doctorate degrees, which means we stand heavy on the education. And we're also members, like honorable members, like famous people, basically. That's what that means. Fantasia, the person who starred in The Color Purple that just came out, singer, Hattie McDaniel, the first African-American to win an Oscar, and Kamita Guitar. Sorry. I'm really bad with names.
So as you know, that we were just reactivated in the spring. With that being said, we only been here for 1 semester, but with us being here for 1 semester, we have made a lot of traction on campus. Our top events would definitely be our period event, where we hosted it during our SGRO week, where we were able to donate to Honor Moon. I don't know if y'all are familiar with Honor Moon, which is a local pantry for high school students and women in Lawrence. They're located in hospitals and the high schools. We were able to donate over 200 pads, tampons, and panty liners to their cause. And then our top two fundraisers were our Pie Poodle, where our active members went on Wesco and got pied. That made we made a bunch of money from that. We also did another event with a bunch of other orgs, which was called S'mores with Sigmas. With Sigmas. Sorry guys, I'm a little nervous. But with that event, it was two other orgs, and we were able to donate over 200 cans of non-perishable foods to the Lawrence food shelter. Sorry. With that being said, we were also able to do an early screening of The Color Purple, which we got well, we sold out the highest. Sorry, guys, I'm so nervous. But we sold out the biggest screening in Lawrence, Kansas at the Regal Center. And we were able to even fund that by our connection at a conference. So they paid for the movie, the food, the decorations, just from us meeting her at a conference. So yeah. Okay, and about the conference, our chapter's purpose is for multiple reasons. During these conferences, there's workshops, plenarian sessions, undergraduate workshops, and job and networking events. We aim to expand our knowledge and valuable skills through these sessions. And I can say from personal experience from our regional conference last week, I've learned more on how to operate our business. So I'm looking forward to using that knowledge from the Boulé, which is a biannual event, only happens 2 years, to bring that to the chapter for the following years. And then at the Boulé, this will also give us the opportunity to engage with potential donors, sponsors, and partners who all share the same commitment to sisterhood, scholarship, and service. So, yes. I'm trying to make this a little quick. Sorry, guys. I'm wishing.
Okay. A little quick fact, it is going to be hosted in Houston, Texas. I know the terminology, Boulé, that is the name of the conference that we mentioned. It's only 7 days long. And what makes this one so significant, the reason why we're pushing for funding is because it's the biggest one. All members of Sigma Gamma Rho sorority, like in the US, is going to be there. So we're going to be meeting a lot of people from different backgrounds, from different chapters, different states, that we can learn seminars, workshops, and network.
And here is the cost breakdown. There are multiple packages, with $750 being the lowest. And then there's no tax, and there's 2 delegates, which are me and Viviana, which put the cost at $1,500. And that's just for registration. We still will have other costs, but this is just for the registration. And then thank you for your time. Is there any questions? He has a
Is
question.
there any questions?
Oh, Lord.
We appreciate your presentation. We funded a lot of conference fees, and this is probably by a factor of about 7, the most expensive per person that I've ever seen. Can you explain a little bit about why this is $750 a pop?
That really isn't upon us, it's upon our national team. They do like brackets of prices, and then with each bracket allowed you to attend certain events. We can't really choose on how much we spend. I don't know how to describe it. Yeah, sorry.
No, it's okay. So basically, like she said, it's the national program who does the thing. We don't choose the pricing, but the reason why this is because this allows us to go to all the networking seminars, workshops, and everything. The other options that were available were just for mostly social events, maybe the gift options, but we want to get the full experience because we're so new and we need to learn from pros because we have no pros.
Okay.
So how much are the other options, the other packages?
The other one was, oh, y'all wouldn't even want to know the price, but they went up to like $1,000. So yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions? You're out of time anyway.
Oh, sorry.
Motion to vote from Austin. I see a second from Garrett. Objections? We'll do a voice vote. All in favor of the bill? Hands up. All against?
Conference.
Thank you so much.
All right, yeah, this bill's passed.
I better see y'all at our events the same.
The last bill we have, Camden, 10 minutes. Do your presentation, or are you just gonna go
What, your presentation or is it just talk? All right.
You send it to me.
What's up?
You send it to me.
It's on Teams. I can just get.
All right, everyone, let's go ahead and give Kevin the look. What's up? Let's go ahead and give Cam this the last meeting of the agenda today. Promise to send you guys home.
Hang on, sorry.
No, you're in the wrong place. You're in the. Oh.
No, it's here.
Here?
I promise. Yeah. Okay. Okay, awesome, guys. I'll do my best to get through this as quickly as possible. Again, my name is Camden, the chair of the Finance Council. Where do we start? Okay, so block allocation is the single largest entirely student senate controlled fund housed within the student fee. So we have what's known as the student senate activity fee, which you guys heard about when I came up here and talked about the full fee, I believe at this point 3 weeks ago. This is different. This is a smaller subset of that pie, and this piece of the pie has to be divided around 16 different ways. In total, it was in the ballpark of $860,000. That's almost $1 million. It's a lot that the block committee sat down in an afternoon and hammered out what we felt was the most fair and equitable distribution of those funds. And as you'll soon find out, these support a ton of really, really important organizations across campus that do a lot of really great work. So I'm just going to go ahead and dive in and start going through these. And these are listed alphabetically in no particular order of importance. This is the bill that you'll see here, and then I'll also be referring to our summary page. So start here with alternative breaks, which is receiving an allocation of $23,460. This is a marginal increase. It's a little over $1,000 an increase. The reason this is happening is because alternative breaks, which essentially hosts service retreats during traditional university breaks like Thanksgiving, Christmas break, spring break, etc. They host service trips that really focus on ethical service, etc. It's a great program. Unfortunately, is not in its greatest spot, historically speaking. Had a few critical departures, and as a result, they're trying to rebuild a lot of the aspects of what they do. Needed a little bit of additional funding in order to hire on additional part-time staff in order to make that happen. This is a pretty straightforward decision for us to make. This is an extremely important program that does a ton of good. So we granted the increase. The next step are bands. This funds the marching band mostly. And yes, I agree. They're great. So there are wages housed under this fee. So the personnel services, as well as expenses for sheet music, which is extremely expensive. So band had its allocation cut last year, as did a bunch of related block organizations because of an accounting error on our part. So a lot of this $50,000 figure is just to set them on par with their historical allocations. What happened to them and so many other groups was not fair. I think it's up to us to make it right. This is going to enable them to continue investing in sheet music at a sustainable rate. It means that the fan experience at games is a little bit more interesting, less of the same stuff over and over again, which should be exciting. So that's how we settled on that figure. This just granted their full ask. Next, we have the Center for Community Outreach, which is technically a sister organization to KU Student Senate. It's the service arm of our institution. They actually share an office with us. It's adjoined, so if you ever want to go in and throw things at the CCO people from the Student Senate office, you can. I would recommend it. It's funny. Nevertheless, their ask was flat. And this was, again, a very easy decision for us to make. Not once have I ever looked at the world around me and thought, do you know what this place needs less of? Community service. Again, easy decision. We also have forensics, which is colloquially known as the debate team. Their ask was $25,000, which has been their ask for the past 5 or 6 years. KU's debate team is arguably more successful than our basketball team. It's an important cornerstone of our university's outreach. It means that we're included in discussions at the highest level, competing and defeating teams from Harvard, Yale, Dartmouth, etc. This is an easy decision for us to make. We just held them flat and granted their full ask. Then we have Jayhawk Motorsports. This $12,000 is essential for them to continue building their race cars at the highest level. Race cars are extraordinarily expensive, and so are satellites. And I know that the engineering groups seem to receive a disproportionate amount of the funding. They're actually the second smallest on this list. Every penny that we give them here is a penny that's freed up from the unallocated account, because at the end of the day, as I said, race cars are expensive, and if we can reduce the financial burden on ourselves at a later date, as I believe we were doing here with the $12,000 grant, I think we should do it. And we have Lead Center of Kansas set at $107,500. This is a $17,500 increase from last year, which last year's allocation was a $10,000 decrease. So on net over the 3 years, this is a $7,500 increase. The rationale here is fairly straightforward. Lead Center does a ton of fantastic work engaging the artistic community. KU students all have access to every event at half price, so the ticket prices are cheap. It's a very valuable investment from the Student Senate. Plus, we get our logo plastered on the digital board on the corner of, I believe it's Bob Barker and no, what is it? Bob Billings in Iowa. Yeah, it's a good look, guys. I can't lie, I'm a sucker for it. This allows them to meet their full costs of putting on clinics that benefit the community. So then we have the Natural History Museum. This sets their allocation on par with 2 years ago. They were one of the groups that had theirs cut in order to make ends meet. In light of the accounting disaster, this just sets them equal and meets their ask. I believe it's the right decision. We have the Office of Graduate Studies, which is a really hefty $148,000, making it the largest on this list. This is in line with our historical funding levels and rights what I think has been a pretty persistent wrong in how we've allocated funds internally. Office of Graduate Studies received roughly $80,000, I believe it was $88,000 last year. In the wake of the pandemic, that allocation was cut because the overwhelming majority of it funds travel for graduate students. Traveling to conferences and presenting is pretty much not optional if you are a graduate student, and it's very expensive. So Office of Graduate Studies reduces the barriers to entry for KU graduate students to the national research scene. As obviously and thankfully COVID has receded into the rearview mirror, it was time for this allocation to be set at least competitively with its pre-COVID numbers, which was $150,000, and 148 was the number we landed on. Then we have the Spencer Museum of Art. This is again a modest increase that sets their allocation on par with historical levels. The Sports and Exercise Psychology Fund and Club. This is a roughly $3,700 increase, if my memory serves correctly, to $6,000 flat. Sports and Exercise Psychology is actually being accredited as a minor at the University of Kansas starting in the fall. And it seems to us that if we have a minor for something, it would make sense that, you know, the club has the resources it needs to continue. This numerically is a small investment for us, but I believe it has a potential to be really impactful. A lot of the equipment that they need is not cheap, but it's cheap enough that this $6,000 can go a long way in ensuring that members of that new minor at KU are able to do the things that they need to do. And we have the Student Senate administration fee. This funds most of what you see here today, including the pizza budget, my salary, everyone on exec salary, all the chairs, the travel fund as well, and there's an office budget. This $133,000 figure is the same as last year. It's in line with historical levels. I know it seems like a lot, but there is quite a bit of work that goes on into maintaining this show that you're seeing. So this makes it possible. Then we have student support and case management, who originally received $68,000, requested a $10,000 transfer from the campus cupboard account to student support and case management. So this is complicated, bear with me. Campus Cupboard and Student Support and Case Management are sort of sister organizations. So Student Support and Case Management has a full-time staff position that supported the Campus Cupboard. For reasons I will get to later, that is no longer the case. But these two organizations work very closely. In fact, the application was submitted by the same person. And so this ask was higher. It was around $77,000. And this is just for a salary. Part of the confusion among the block committee was that roughly $20,000 of the salary was fringe, which is outrageously high fringe. That refers to things like benefits, health insurance, vacation, etc. We weren't really sure why a salary such as that needed roughly 30% fringe benefit. Nevertheless, in accordance with their wishes, we decided to essentially internally transfer funds from one block to another in order to meet the salary needs of this position. And that's how we arrived at 78,000, amended up from 68,000. And we have the University Dance Company. This figure was held flat from last year. It's pretty straightforward. Singing and dancing takes resources. And so these resources help them sing and dance. University Theater received a $3,000 increase, up from $54,000. This just sets them on par with historical levels. We found $3,000 from them last year because we needed the money because of the accounting mishap, obviously. This sets that right. Next, we have the William K. Jones Military Affiliated Student Center. This is the building that's like just south of Anschutz. It's kind of in that like grassy area. This is a modest increase. It is, I think, like 3,700. Let me look. 3,600. I was close. Okay. Anyway, this is to continue funding desk assistant positions. The military affiliated community at KU is really closely knit. And it's important that they have their own space. And it's also important that, that space feels lively and the people are there. So this just ensures that they're able to expand their staffing hours, ensure that if you're going to walk in, at a reasonable hour, there's someone there that can help you navigate whatever the needs of the military affiliated students are. I would also like to point out that this is a pretty savvy investment in the actual university writ large, in my opinion. The GI Bill alone contributes roughly $5.1 million in tuition to the university alone. So it's important that military affiliated students feel like they have a home here. It's certainly in the interest of our university. Okay, then we have the campus cupboard. This is one of the 2 new organizations that applied for funding. And they asked for what we felt was kind of an outrageous sum of money for a lot of reasons. The request was $125,000. We did not have $125,000 laying around. And the justification for this was that they had funded a position, that means hired someone with previously existing funding that had run out, and they were just hoping that the students would pick up the tab. We had no warning. Absolutely no indication this is going to happen, and we were understandably distressed when we got hit with a $125,000 bill that included with it a line that said, if we do not get this allocation, someone will lose their job. And I would be lying to you if I said that that wasn't true. I don't mention it to make you feel bad, but it just feels like my responsibility to inform you that yes, we have a position that is, as it currently stands by this proposal, going to remain unfunded for the future. I'll talk a little bit about why I don't think that you all should worry about that, but the $10,000 that we gave them was what we were able to spare based on what we had left over, and that was to purchase materials for the campus cupboard, so food, in other words. Student support and case management would rather have that money go to salary. So in Finance Council, we amended this to take the $10,000 allocated for food purchases to send toward the salary. So why should you vote for this bill, even though we've been told it means that somebody loses their job? The simple answer is that this should not be student senate's cross to bear. Let me put it this way. When I read that request, my first response was, how the hell do you run up a $125,000 annual expense without a sustainable force for funding? That's exactly what happened, and I believe it is irresponsible in the extreme to send a letter to a bunch of students who are volunteering to run this and say, yeah, by the way, if you don't give us $125,000, someone loses their job. Completely irresponsible. And I think it's wildly unrealistic to expect that students such as us are able to make that decision in good conscience in a way that isn't going to, I don't know, make our lives inordinately more difficult than it already is. So I feel very strongly that this type of behavior is not the stuff that Student Senate should be dealing with. And at risk of sounding callous, I don't think this is our fault. And I would go so far as to say that it's not necessarily our problem, which is why I am comfortable with this allocation. And again, I felt it was my responsibility to inform you why I'm okay with this. Next on the list and the last was Writing Center. This was also a new account, and the ask was large. It was roughly $50,000, I believe. Obviously, we couldn't grant all of this, but this $8,000 is a really meaningful chunk of that is going to, particularly for graduate students, give them some resources to work on their thesis. It's what's called the Thesis Accelerator System. I'm going to defer that. Okay. Thanks, Windows. Great. But yes, that's where the 8,000 comes from. That's all I have. And then questions.
Rob?
Does Cindy get 10 free pizzas every time we order from Toppers each assembly?
10 free pizzas? I have no idea.
We don't get free pizzas, we have to pay for them.
Yeah, it's a $4,500 line item.
Any other questions? Motion to vote Turner, second from Austin. Any objections? Wait for a poll to come out. Poll is out. Poll is out. 60 seconds. Go ahead and get your vote in. Appreciate it, Camden.
You were. Give me a second. 30 seconds left. Please go get your votes in. 30 seconds left. One. With a vote of 33 in the affirmative, 0 negative, and 1 abstention, the block passes. And